Ladies and gentlemen, if you woke up this morning hoping the world would get better, let me gently warn you it won't. But here's the good news. You can. And when you change, everything changes for you. See, life is not something that happens to you, it's something that responds to you. And the greatest tragedy is not that people aim too high and miss. It's that they aim too low and hit. So if you're tired of waiting for the economy, for your boss, for the world to change, let me offer you a rare and powerful truth. The only project worth your time, your energy, and your life is you. Now the question is, not what do you want, but rather, who must you become to deserve it? That's the real work, and it begins right now. When I was 25 years old, I found myself broke, behind on my promises, pennies in my pocket, and not a whole lot more in the bank. I remember saying, if only the company would pay me more, or if only the economy would improve, or if only someone would give me a better shot. But let me tell you something I learned the hard way. You can't change the circumstances, but you can change yourself. Asterisk. Asterisk. That realization turned the tide for me. I used to walk around hoping the wind would shift in my favor. But life doesn't work like that. The wind blows on us all, the rich and the poor, the educated and the uneducated, the lucky and the unlucky. What matters is how you set your sail. And I realized I was setting mine all wrong. See, if the wind blows north and your sail is stuck facing south, don't curse the wind, adjust your sail. Asterisk. Asterisk. That's philosophy. That's control. That's power. You can't change how the sun rises or how the rain falls. You can't control who your boss is or what your neighbor says. But what you can control is what you do with your time, your thoughts, your energy. The great Epictetus said, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. That truth belongs to every man and woman, regardless of the times they live in. I stopped blaming the company, the paycheck, the weather, the traffic. I started asking new questions. What can I do to become more valuable? What can I learn that I didn't know yesterday? What new discipline can I add to my life that would begin to shift things in my favor? Even something as small as picking up a good book, going for a walk, listening instead of talking. These tiny acts done consistently begin to shift the direction of your life. You won't feel it immediately, but like the turning of a mighty ship, the course does change. And once you start changing yourself, the same wind that once pushed you back suddenly begins to push you forward. There was a time in my life when I thought success was something you chased down like it was out there somewhere, just beyond the next opportunity, the next deal, the next phone call. I was running hard, trying everything I could, yet I always seemed to come up short. That is, until I discovered a truth that changed everything. Success isn't something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. Asterisk. Asterisk. I didn't need to chase it, I needed to grow into it. I remember sitting across from a man who said to me, "This is all the company pays you?" I said, "Yes." He said, "No, it's all they pay you. Asterisk, asterisk." And in that moment, it hit me like a thunderbolt. Success was never outside of me. It was responding to me, my habits, my character, my value. That's when I began to understand the principle of attraction. A magnet doesn't go out looking for metal. It simply becomes something that draws it in. If you want success, you don't beg for it. demand it, or even wait for it. You become someone it cannot resist. It's not about luck. It's not about being in the right place at the right time. It's about being the right person in every place at every time. And that means working on your attitude, your integrity, your communication, your resilience, and yes, your philosophy. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So what color are your thoughts? What mindset do you wake up with every morning? When I started reading a little more, thinking a little deeper, improving my language, following through on small promises, people noticed. The doors didn't open because I knocked louder. They opened because I became someone worth opening them for. For years I worked hard, and if you had met me back then, you might have said, "Now there's a man who puts in the effort." I'd come in early, stay late, go the extra mile. But after 6 years of grinding away, I looked at my life, empty pockets, unpaid promises, and frustration mounting by the day. That's when I heard something that turned my whole life around. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Asterisk. Asterisk. At first it sounded strange. I thought, asterisk. Isn't working hard on the job how you get ahead? Asterisk. But then I realized you don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to that hour. Asterisk. Asterisk. And that value doesn't increase just because time passes. It increases when you do. If you want to earn more, you must become more. If you want to lead, you must grow into someone people want to follow. So I began treating personal development as my second job, only this time the boss was me and the results were eternal. I picked up books on philosophy and business, listened to tapes while driving, and asked better questions of better people. Let me tell you, it wasn't dramatic at first. There were no fireworks, no sudden raises, no applause. But within a year, the difference was undeniable. My confidence grew, my words carried more weight. Opportunities that once ignored me started knocking. It wasn't because the world changed. It was because I did. Asterisk. Asterisk. As the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu said, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." So instead of measuring your day by how long you worked, start asking, how much did I grow today? Asterisk. Did I stretch my thinking, sharpen a skill, discipline my habits? Because a job will feed you for the moment, but developing yourself, that will feed you for a lifetime. I used to say, if only life were easier, I'd do better. If only the problems would disappear. If only the challenges would calm down, then maybe I could get ahead. But then I learned a truth so simple and yet so powerful, it shifted my entire outlook. Asterisk, asterisk. Don't wish for less problems. Develop more skills. Asterisk, asterisk. Because let me tell you, problems don't get smaller. Life doesn't quiet down. If anything, as you grow, the challenges grow too. But that's not the problem. The problem is whether you're growing at the same pace or faster. Life responds to skill, not wishes. The marketplace doesn't care how badly you want it. It responds to competence. If you're waiting for things to get easier, you'll be waiting forever. Instead, get stronger, get sharper. Don't reduce your goals. Increase your capacity. Asterisk, asterisk, I remember years ago facing a mountain of pressure from work, bills, responsibilities piling up, and I felt overwhelmed. I caught myself saying, "Why is this happening to me?" But I had to stop and ask a better question. What can I learn here? What can I build in myself so that this never defeats me again? Asterisk. That's when I started studying not just business, but human nature. I studied discipline, time management, persuasion, communication, leadership. I started stacking skills like building blocks, because every new skill makes you more prepared for the storms of life. You learn to navigate, not escape. The ancient Stoics knew this well. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." You don't lift lighter weights to get stronger. You train to lift heavier ones. In the same way, problems are life's training ground. If the problem is big, don't shrink from it. Grow into someone who handles it with confidence. You don't want a life without obstacles. You want a life where your shoulders are broad enough to carry them and your skills sharp enough to rise above them. Because once you become that kind of person, no problem can hold you back. There's a law that governs the marketplace, not written in books, not debated on news shows, but carved into the very nature of how life works. Your income rarely exceeds your level of personal development. Asterisk, asterisk. And if it does, it usually finds its way back down. That's why some people win the lottery and lose it all in 5 years. Why athletes can earn millions and still end up bankrupt. It's not the money, it's the man. It's not the paycheck, it's the philosophy. There was a time when I thought the key to earning more was finding a better job, a better boss, or even a better location. But what I needed wasn't out there, it was in here. I realized that the marketplace doesn't pay you for your time, it pays you for the value you bring to that time. And value is built through learning, through effort, through personal growth. I remember once complaining to my mentor that I couldn't afford the things I wanted. He looked at me and said, "That's not the problem. The problem is you haven't become the kind of person who can afford them." That stung, but it was the truth. And that's when I knew if I wanted a better income, I had to become a better version of myself. Asterisk. There's a weight we all carry through life. For some, it's light, like a small bag slung over the shoulder. For others, it drags behind them, heavy and haunting. And it all comes down to this simple truth. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. Asterisk, asterisk. The little things you avoid today will become the heavy burdens you carry tomorrow. Discipline is waking up an hour earlier to read, to plan, to build. It's saying no to the short-term thrill so you can say yes to the long-term win. It's having the conversation you'd rather avoid, saving when you'd rather spend, preparing when you'd rather relax. It's inconvenient, yes, but light, manageable. And the best part? It compounds. When I was younger, I had no discipline with money. I'd get it and spend it. I thought that was normal. Then one day I sat down and realized I had nothing to show for all my effort. No savings, no investments, not even peace of mind. That's when regret settled in. And let me tell you, that weight was unbearable. Asterisk, asterisk. The weight of knowing you could have, should have, but didn't. It'll eat at your spirit. But the good news is, Discipline can begin in the smallest of places. Start with making your bed, arriving on time, setting a goal, and keeping it. Begin by reading 10 pages a day. Skip a meal out and invest that money in something that grows. The small disciplines may feel insignificant at first, but they are bricks building the foundation of a life you won't have to apologize for. The ancient proverb says, "He who has conquered himself is greater than he who has conquered a city." And that's what discipline really is, self-conquest. Asterisk. Asterisk. It's choosing what's right over what's easy. And while the world may not applaud you for it now, your future self will thank you 1,000 times over. Because in the end, you will suffer one of two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. But the pain of discipline weighs ounces, and the pain of regret will break your back. Choose wisely. So here we are, standing at the edge of a simple but powerful truth. Your future doesn't begin when the world changes. It begins when you do. Asterisk. Asterisk. The treasures you seek, whether they're financial, emotional, or spiritual, aren't found in better luck or perfect timing. They're found within the person you are willing to become. Don't wait for the world to hand you something. Don't hope circumstances will line up. Instead, begin the journey inward. Asterisk. Asterisk. Read the books. Build the disciplines. Conquer the excuses. Grow your value. Because when you increase your value, life has no choice but to respond with opportunity. You don't have to overhaul your world overnight. Just begin. Small steps, done consistently, will lead you to places others only dream of. If you start working harder on yourself than you do on your job, if you become someone worthy of success, success will show up. It always does. Asterisk. Asterisk. So here's your call to action. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, asterisk, what kind of person do I want to become? Asterisk. Then tomorrow, take one step, just one in that direction, because the best investment you'll ever make is in yourself. Asterisk. Asterisk.